afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm Ninath Karpe, and welcome yet again to another edition of CI Startup Buzz. Every Thursday, we bring you an interesting topic which we think is relevant to the startup ecosystem. We have been doing it for the past 3 months, and we will continue to do it. Our aim at CII is to ensure that through these sessions, you get knowledge about each and every aspect of how to have a successful startup, as well as how to be a great investor. Today, we have a very interesting session on startup lessons you won't find in Silicon Valley, but in the forest of Jharkhand. And I'll hand it over to Ravi to take over the proceedings. But remember, Thursday, 5 p.m., lock it in, CI Startup Buzz. Over to you, Ravi.
Thanks, Ninath. And hey, good evening, everyone. And delighted to have with me Rishabh Lohia, who's the founder of Wild Harvest Investors, Wild Harvest Ventures. I thought before we talk about Wild Harvest itself, we should, talk about, the category itself that Rishabh is working on. And I think what is interesting is for someone who has a degree in economics and an MBA and starting off in real estate to now working in the forests of Jharkhand with Mahua. And Rishabh, I think, the big question that both of us had is how many people on this platform this evening have actually heard of Mahua, right? You wanted to probably ask the audience, to answer yes or no on their box, on the chat box.
Yes, that would be great.
Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, if we can request you, I think people have already started typing it in, and Anant will be able to tell us how many yeses are there or how many no's are there. And while we wait for the answers, Rishabh, you're in some luck. I can already see a few yeses coming in. Yeah. And I think that's a good place to start, right? And that's what makes this discussion probably that much more interesting when you have a few people who've heard of it, right? Oh, wow. 187 people have actually said yes. That's a good one.
That's pretty amazing. And I would have thought to the contrary, actually, that a lot of people might not have heard of Mahua. But it's great to know that so many people have already heard about it. So it makes my job a little bit easier now.
Indeed. And you know what I want to start with, Rishabh, we will, of course, talk about Wild Harvest. But before that, let's talk about Mahua. I think commonly or popularly, right, it's known for the alcohol made from the fermented flowers of fermented flower, Mahua flower. But right, there's so much more than that. So why don't we first talk about Mahua itself and then, go on to your journey?
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much, Mr. Ninath and Mr. Ravikant, for the introduction and for inviting me for this session. It's an honor to be here. So interesting to know that almost 187 people have said they've heard of Mahua, which is pretty cool. I would ask another question. Have people heard of Mahua as a drink? Or in general, they've just heard of Mahua. Is that something we can also have a quick poll on, Anant, if that's okay?
So the question is, heard of it only as a drink, yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Till the answers come in, I'll just talk a little bit about Mahua, right? So Mahua is actually a forest tree, or Maduka longifolia and latifolia. This tree is indigenous to the Indian subcontinent. Okay, 110 people have said yes for just the drink, right? This is where it becomes interesting. So Mahua is usually known as an intoxicant or as an alcoholic drink. But just to zoom out and sort of explain what Mahua really is, Mahua is a forest tree found only in India. It's been growing in India for centuries and has been mentioned in Vedas, in Vedic texts, etc. And it's been a part of the Indian forest ecosystem, specifically the dry deciduous forest ecosystem, and has been part of tribal communities and culture for centuries. Right. So, what is mahua? Mahua is a forest tree. Now, a tree has fruits, it has flowers, it has trunks, it has like leaves. So, mahua is known as a kalpa vriksh or a wish granting tree by many communities because the different parts of the tree have been used for various things. So, for example, the leaves is used as fodder for cattle. The bark has some medicinal properties. The fruit is edible, and the seed is used to extract an oil or a butter, which is used for cooking and also has been used for skincare and like personal care. And the flowers is where things get very interesting. The mahua flowers are nothing like you'd expect a flower to look like. It looks almost like a yellow grape. And it blooms just once a year from March to May. And it's the only flower in the world which is used to distill liquor. There are a lot of flowers which are used to make a fermented liquor, but it's the only sweet flower in the world which is used to make a distilled liquor. The British banned the collection, storage, and processing of mahua flowers in the late 19th century through Mahuara Act and the Abkari Act. This was done because they saw mahua as a threat to their own liquor distribution in India. And since then, mahua has popularly been known as an intoxicant. Mahua flowers also are consumed by a variety of biodiversity, sloth bears, deer, jackals, porcupines, civets. It's pollinated by fruit bats. So it's a very interesting tree and very interesting subject in general. Uh, and the mahua tree is found in over 15 states in India. It's mostly found in the central belt of India in dry deciduous forests. And it's India produces over 1 lakh tons of flowers every year. So it's not rare sort of forest produce or a minor forest produce. It's one of the most major forest produce India has. And yet it's just there's like it's just constrained to this perception of it being an intoxicant, and the market is fairly informal and unorganized, and that's what mahua is in broad terms.
How interesting. I thought this is a good place to segue into how the idea of Wild Harvest Ventures came up, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, where did you get the idea from or the inspiration from? And what's your vision and how are you sort of I think it's been a year and a half or so, right? It's
Mhm.
fairly new. So tell us where the idea came from, what the inspiration was, and how you've moved so far.
For sure. So basically, I've been living in Jharkhand in Ranchi for the past 10 years. I did my schooling and studies outside of Ranchi, but born in Ranchi. Now, in Ranchi, you've always heard of mahua because Jharkhand has a lot of mahua trees. But I've been working, I run an NGO called ACAST, and through that, I've been working with tribal communities and the forests of Jharkhand for over 7 years now. Every year, we used to sort of try to solve this problem of forest fires that happened during mahua flowering season. And that's where the inspiration came from because generally, the forest flower collection, the mahua flower collection led to forest fires. And again, I also had the perception of just mahua as a drink, but I started seeing mahua as food through the many interactions I had with self-help groups, seeing mahua and laddus, talking to elders of the community where they told me about how mahua is very nutritious, and how mahua actually saved lives during times of famine. Um, this conversation I had with people and communities across the central Indian landscape, where people, when they spoke about eating mahua, they spoke about how they used to eat mahua when nothing else grew. Now, this is fairly interesting because mahua flowers during a time when everything is scarce, right? It's in the month of March to May when there's not much agriculture happening, there's not much food resources. So that is when mahua used to, sustain communities. So that's when I started reading about the food use of mahua. And when I started researching about the nutrition, it seemed to be extremely good. And that's when I started going deep into why mahua flowers are never seen as a food ingredient and only as liquor. And that is what inspired me to start researching on why that is. And the reason that came at the forefront of things was the harvest and post harvest of the flower, the way it was done, and the way there was such a big unorganized market of the mahua liquor, about the laws about, laws about distilling mahua, all this sort of, and also communities which were harvesting mahua are usually not very well off. They're marginalized communities, you know. So that's where I started seeing the value of mahua flowers as food. And what I found out through my research and interactions was when mahua is harvested and post harvested with care, it can add a lot of value to communities that harvest it. Currently, communities were earning 20, 30, 40 rupees per kg for the dried mahua flowers. I believe that, you know, with the right harvest and post harvest techniques, these communities can start earning double the income from the mahua flowers. And where there's such a huge unorganized market, there's a scope to sort of, like harvest it with care, post harvest it with care, and actually bring forward mahua as a superfood. Similar to how, say, Madwa or, a millet revolution has come across, or Makhana has come across out of, the shadows. I feel mahua flowers seem like a very great source of food and nutrition, which can, come about for urban audiences, and actually, be great for conservation, community, and consumers, if harvested and post harvested with care, and if we come up with innovative, high quality food products. So that's where the idea and inspiration came from.
That's so very interesting. So, Rishabh, I mean, the questions are just coming blazing in, right? But what I'm going to do is, before I come back to those questions, including, some which I have about balancing, enterprise, because, and the social angle, I want to, sort of first want you to talk about, so therefore, how have you taken this product to market? Tell us a little bit about that, and then
Yeah.
we'll come back to Jharkhand and the social angle as well as the
For
enterprise.
sure. So as I told you about taking it to the market, right? The first step was harvesting the flower with care. So let's talk about the dried mahua flowers, right? And what makes it a great product in general. So the dried mahua flower in itself has a very unique flavor profile. It has an earthy, caramelly sort of a flavor profile. It's slightly bittersweet, but when harvested with care, it's got a quite palatable taste profile and a superb nutritional profile, especially micronutrients. So, very rich in vitamin B1, B2, B6, iron, potassium, vitamin C. It has 3 times more protein than dates. So, so what we started doing was getting very high quality of edible mahua flowers, packaging it, and just selling the mahua flowers as it is, right, for food consumption. And the mahua flowers can also be used in various recipes, like a mahua kheer or a mahua laddu. So that was one product to begin with, our base product, which is just the dried mahua flowers. What makes it again a very great product is the shelf life. When post harvested the right way and harvested the right way, mahua flowers will last you years.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
Yeah, so that was one, right? And then we started coming up with some innovative products like Mahua chocolates, like how you have a nutties. So, like chocolate coated Mahua and a Mahua granola, a Mahua syrup. So, that's how we started. We've built a small portfolio of products and we listed on Amazon. We listed, like, we of course have our own website through which we sell, and we also started doing a lot of events, or live events, since it's a food product. So we started taking it to multiple, like, food fairs, things like Biofark. We were at Reliance, Fresh Pick, so we started displaying and like testing out how consumers are reacting to our product. So that's how we took the product to market, essentially.
Oh, that's a good journey. And so, how long has it been since you've been selling to consumers? So,
It's
either through
been
your
around 6 months, I would
website.
say. It's been around 6 months since we actually took our products live. Yeah.
And how has been the response to the product in terms of sales, in terms of feedback from customers?
So honestly, the response has been very good. People love the flavor of the flowers in general, especially because it has no added sugar, it has no preservatives. So we see it as an alternative to dates or an alternative to kishmish. And the chocolates have gotten great reception. I truly feel that Mahua and chocolates are a match made in heaven. They really blend well with chocolates, and the chocolate sort of cuts off the slight bitterness that Mahua has. Mahua laddus are a real winner as well, though we've not introduced it in our product portfolio yet, but we have it in the exhibitions we do. And the syrup, we recently won like the PETA award for vegan honey for our syrup. So the syrup is like a date syrup, or a maple syrup. So we feel it's India's answer to a date or maple syrup. So it can have various application in food products. So the reception has been very good. But of course, there's a lot of education and awareness that needs to be created. So sales have been not very high. It's been slow, but it's been a positive trend from what we're seeing.
So, how many SKUs do you currently have listed on your website and on Amazon and
We just have three SKUs listed as of now: chocolates, granola, and flowers. The syrup is ready, though we've not launched it
launched
yet.
it?
Yeah.
And I think, perhaps this is the time to take up some of the questions.
Sure.
The one that's just popped up is how do you balance the authenticity, which is that it's from the forest, right, with modern consumer expectations? I think you may have partly answered that in the sense that,
Mhm.
chocolate coated, Mahua
Right.
thing is probably this thing, but, please tell us how do you
Oh,
balance these?
so firstly, I think there is a growing trend of people wanting to eat natural and eat whole foods, right? There's a whole trend of people wanting to eat healthy and be healthy, and I think Mahua fits in really well with that. Especially though it's a forest flower, it's quite I would say it's perfect for the urban consumer wanting to eat healthy, who doesn't like who likes a bit of sweetness but doesn't like too much sweet, right? Like I think with dark chocolates, with people shifting towards healthier lifestyles, lower sugar, people want some sweetness but like less like in your face, like refined sugar, or like very sweet products. So I think that way the Mahua flower fits in quite well. And of course, having modern applications for the flour, like a granola. Like how can you mix like mahua with oats and cranberries and like some cocoa, like just to have a good mix of, yeah, like making it more palatable for the urban consumer.
And if you were to actually, before scaling up, I want to talk about the awareness that you mentioned, which is that overall awareness is low. So what is it you've been doing over the last 6 months since you actually took it out, started selling D2C, to be
Mhm.
able to drive awareness and interest for consumers?
So again, I would say we're at the very early stages of the same, but we've actually collaborated with a lot of meaningful people in the space, in the FMCG space. One has been the Locavore, which really drives a lot of conscious consumers and people interested in organic producers and stuff like that. So we've tied up with them. We're a partner producer with the Locavore, and we actually started a collaboration with Edible Issues, which is a food collective, a food research collective. And we've started this Substack called Mahua Matters, through which we're taking out stories on Mahua. So there are so many stories that unravel, when you dig deep into Mahua. Like there was a British botanist in the late 19th century who tried making a mahua syrup with lime, mahua, and ash. So there have been experiments in the past about bringing mahua into food use. We also have been showcasing traditional recipes from like communities across central India. So we use Instagram and Meta to sort of spread awareness through our organic social media and also through ads as well. So telling people about the nutritional profile, comparing it with dates, comparing it with raisins, and telling the story of Mahua through our organic social media is something that we've been trying to do. Engaging videos. We also did a trip with the Lokovo where people actually came during Mahua season to see the Mahua harvest, to actually interact with communities that we work with and who harvest Mahua. So these are small initiatives that we've taken to spread awareness. Though I think we have a long, long way to go. We're just at the beginning stage of this whole process.
And especially because you're at an early stage,
Right.
and given that selling packaged food products, how do you ensure product quality and consistency?
So again, we've tied up with we have a product development team, and say for the flowers, etc. Right, like we have food scientists with us on team, which ensure high quality sort of food going out, and even for our manufactured goods, like be
Mhm.
it chocolates or granola, we've tied up with really good quality food manufacturers to manufacture these products, and we have very strong QC and like a quality control for our products, right? Because we're very cognizant about what product goes out into the market. Yeah, so we're very cognizant of that, and we want to keep that in mind going
Right.
forward.
And in this entire process, how are you balancing between, enterprise and, the social focus that you have? You mentioned, and this is so important, that today, if a farmer is getting 20, 30 rupees a kg, over a period of time, they need to be able to double that, right?
Yeah,
And makhana, right? Or millets. The story that's happening now has obviously resulting in farmers gaining at some level. So, but for you, while you're at one level, you have a social focus. How do you balance that with, business and enterprise?
sure. Being very honest, I feel at the root of everything we do, we have purpose over profit, right? Like the whole reason we started this was because we truly feel that Mahua flowers are grossly undervalued. In India, more than 10 million people, which is again an underestimate, harvest the Mahua flower. So we feel like, so communities we work with, we support them and like giving all sustainable harvesting kits. We've already increase their income by 40 to 50% by giving them better prices, by reducing a lot of time and effort during the harvesting process for them, etc. Right? So at everything we do, like I think purpose trumps profitability for us, right? Like at the heart of it, that's principally we feel that communities who harvest mahua should be earning way more than mahua, and they should be harvesting it the right way. Coming to the enterprise side of things, I think again we're very early stage, right? So to expect profitability to happen in 1 or 2 years is unrealistic. We're working on our back end on being very efficient, but I feel like a mahua tree takes 10 years to flower, you know. So similarly, a business takes time to give profits. So we want to build a strong organization, a rooted organization, rooted in principle, rooted in impact, and of course, be efficient in a way to sustain and survive and be sustainable in terms of being profitable in a couple of years, right? So that's how we sort of balance it, where we think long term, we think like we're a tree, like how we're just, you know, slowly germinating and spreading our roots, and
Right.
then we'll slowly grow. And yeah, so that's how we view it.
That's very interesting. And since this session is all about lessons that we which are unique to where you've set up business, and
Mhm.
things that you don't necessarily learn from Silicon Valley alone. Uh, Keen to know, what you may have learned, from the communities that you've been working with.
Yeah.
In fact, one question is, was there that moment when a community member taught you something that, changed your approach over the last year and a half that you've been at it?
Oh, I think I learn every time I interact with our partner communities. There's so much learning. One of the key learnings that I feel indigenous communities have, especially the elders, is like being in tune with seasons, being in tune with the cycle of life and the cycle of the forest, right? Communities have such deep knowledge about the forest that they reside in, right? They know how to survive in the, you know, harshest of times. There's also a big you know, how in business I feel we always see competition, whereas I feel communities, especially tribal communities, there's a lot of collaboration and togetherness as well in many communities, right? So I honestly feel I've learned so much from the communities and the forests. You know, a forest is vibrant only when there are multiple species, not a monoculture. So I feel that to grow a category or to like disrupt a category, you need partnerships. You need to be, you know, in Adivasi communities, there's an akhada where people come together and dance in circles, you know, and people from all backgrounds, various backgrounds come together. So that's how I feel about growing a business. It's about collaborating with researchers, with ecologists, with other businesses, you know, not seeing other people doing mahua as competition, but collaborators, you know. So that's how I view it. And the way the communities have sort of lived in harmony and in like sort of this, yeah, with nature and with each other. I think that's something that we need to learn about. And how do we sort of think long term and protect our resources, our natural resources, while thriving as well, you know? So I think that's.
And how do you handle, the vagaries of nature, be it monsoons, the wildlife itself? And you said, the mahua is consumed by, different kind of animals.
Mhm.
Plus, there must be accessibility issues because you're operating finally in the forests. So
Right.
how do you sort of navigate through, the vagaries of nature?
So, mahua is found in various landscapes. Actually, like there is mahua trees growing deep in forest, but also on forest fringes, right? So again, it's all about partnerships where we work community. So every household will own certain trees. So we work with them and we don't put up nets in deep forest. That's left for animals to consume. Whereas, you know, like the forestries near the villages is where we work in. Again, having like the pleasure of living in Ranchi is that the communities we work with is just 1 hour away. So it's easy for me to access. Plus, I've got so much support with the communities that we work with that it's never been a challenge for us. And also, the harvesting methods that we've incorporated have benefited community members very directly. So we've gotten even more support from them because of that. So where it would take, 2 to 3 hours per day per tree to harvest mahua flowers, by putting nets, it's come down to 1 hour. You
Oh.
know, so that's how we sort of forge partnerships. And again, the proximity of Ranchi to Mahua forest is not too far. So for me, that's not been a challenge.
And how many communities, or rather households, would you have sort of
Yeah.
uplifted or helped in some way over the last, year?
We've worked with around 50 households, and in last year we worked with 40. This year we worked with 50. 40 being the same 10 households being added.
Okay.
But in the next season, we're targeting 300 to 400 households. So we're slowly starting to grow, and like our methodology has gained a lot of traction and acceptance even by government agencies who've seen it, and a lot of communities. We actually have a movie that we're going to release, which talks about our whole harvesting method and how, and it has community voices where they've spoken about how it's affected their lives. So we're showing that movie to various communities that have mahua growing around them, to sort of garner more support and to involve more communities. So that has really helped us. And I think communities are very smart, right? And like once they're given the means to do something, they will adopt technology which is
Hmm.
better, for their harvest, for their like work as well. So, and also I believe there's a lot of yeah, we believe in long-term partnerships. We don't feel that we go and we tell them what to do. We have various focus group discussions before we work with the community. The flowering happens in March, but already we've started having meetings with communities where we hold focus group discussions. We discuss, we do pilots, we set up nets together, we play mandars and dhols together. So it's a very, we do cooking workshops to sort of promote mahua and hyper local food systems as well. So we have a very multi-pronged approach
Awesome.
to yeah, do that.
And how many people are the we that you talk about? How large is the team?
See, in my core team, we're just 4 people, but I see it as a 300 people team because 50 households, like 250 people. And it's really like, yeah, like we're like family, like if you guys ever happen to come to Jharkhand, you'll see. So the way I see it, we're 300 strong. Yeah.
And you mentioned government briefly. Do you get any support from, the government in this venture?
Not yet. There's been initiatives from the Chhattisgarh government in similar sort of ventures. There is like a couple of government ventures in Maharashtra which have started doing similar things. And in Jharkhand, this year we are collaborating with the Jharkhand government, the organization that deals with NTFPs, which is non-timber forest produce. So we're partnering with them to spread this initiative in different districts and blocks to sort of, spread this harvesting and post-harvesting method to enhance the value of mahua flowers. Yeah.
Okay. And along the way, do you help the communities, in terms of growing better, in terms of improving productivity of the Mahua flower?
Yeah, definitely. So I think mahua trees have been growing for centuries, right? So the trees we work with, they've been there for over 100 years, many of them. So in terms of productivity, there's not much we can do, but in terms of how we harvest it, that's where we increase productivity. A lot of losses happen during collection and during post harvest because when flowers used to fall on ground, right? A
Mm.
lot of the flowers were consumed by cattle, by livestock. So by putting nets, all that, the production increases in general. A lot of losses happen during post-harvest because due to climate change, there is unseasonal rain happening in March, April, May, which spoils a lot of mahua flowers. They become black and then communities have to sell it for 5 rupees, for 10 rupees. So with our post-harvesting methods, we've been able to save a lot of, we've increased production and saved a lot of produce through those methodologies. So where a household would say do 50 kgs of dried mahua flowers, with our methods, they've been able to do 80, 90 kgs in general. Uh, so that's the way we've sort of increased production. But yes, climate change is an issue. Some trees are flowering less. There's, unseasonal rain, which hampers production of the mahua flower for sure.
And in this process from harvesting these to the end product, before you send this to manufacturers whom you spoke about,
Mhm.
is there technology that gets used in this process?
So, very basic but effective technology. I would say putting nets under the trees is also a technology, right? It might
Yeah.
not involve machines, but it's simple use of technology. And we've set up dehydrators, again, very simple greenhouse sort of dehydrators for mahua flowers. We tried like experimenting with heat pump dehydrators and stuff like that, but mahua flowers need to be dehydrated slowly, otherwise they burn. They're a very delicate flower. So in terms of reducing the dehydration time and all of that, we've tried open sun drying and we've tried solar sort of dehydration as well. So that's the very rudimentary technology that we've used so far.
Okay. And coming back to the front end,
Mhm.
right, I see two things, and perhaps in the next 3, 4 days, I'll be able to tell you myself how much I loved, the chocolate
Yeah.
coated mahua flower. But what I notice are two things. One is there are other, brands which are
Hmm.
selling mahua based products,
Yeah.
online on an Amazon, for example, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about that and how you think it will help you build the category as a whole, because
Hmm.
category development is probably one of your big challenges, right?
Definitely.
But it's also a downside because it's competition in a sense,
Hmm.
right? And how do you think this will scale up over the next, couple of years?
Hmm.
From a consumer perspective and
Right. So
even the factories.
there are a couple of things. I think it's better the more brands sell mahua, the better it is, right? What is problematic is a lot of brands that sell mahua are selling the non-food grade mahua, right? So they're selling the mahua like gathered from ground, dehydrated on roads, and that leaves a very bad taste in the consumer's mouth. A lot of people might have tried mahua flowers in the past, but they've never, and they might have had a bad experience because they smell bad. They might have like grit on them. A
Mhm.
lot of them might have fungus on them. So, if you've had like that experience with the flower, you might, shun the flower in general. So, there's a big, big need for collective action to set standards for what is food grade mahua flowers, which can be sold as food, right? So there needs to be a collective action on anyone selling mahua flowers as food to set standards.
Mhm.
So, there needs to be a policy level sort of push towards that. And through Mahua Matters, we're trying to push for that. Through government talks and interventions, we're trying to sort of set standards for, like whoever's selling Mahua, let's have a particular moisture level, have a particular color, have a particular grade of mahua that can only be sold as food. Like imagine if you were to taste goji berries for the first time and they came all black and like infected, right? Like you would never go back to them. So though it's great that more people are selling it, the sort of challenge lies in regulating what's being sold as mahua flowers, which is unregulated right now. So we believe that, like, because we're so confident about our quality, and we can say that, like, we're like definitely giving you the best mahua flowers there are. We will provide you lab tests of these flowers, where we've tested for heavy metals, we've tested for, everything possible to say it's food safe, that every flower that you'll get is going to be tasty or
Right.
consistent. That's where we thrive. That's where we're different from anyone else selling mahua flowers online. Uh, and even our branding or is new age, like if you look at all the others selling mahua, it's very, you can tell it's not very organized. So though I believe more and more people should be selling mahua, there needs to be regulation and there needs to be standardization of what food grade mahua flowers are.
And coming back to the place where you are currently with 40 to 50 households, you said, right? Last year 40 and now 50.
Mhm.
And you plan to scale up to 300 next year.
Yeah.
So a question that somebody had, that do you have conflicts within the small community? And if you do, conflicts, disagreements, and how do you deal with those?
Again, I feel there are conflicts in every organization, every community. I think that goes along with everything, right? But I feel good communication, effective communication is how you solve for these things. You don't go in with authority. You don't go in thinking that you're better, but you go in with a very open, receptive mindset. You go in with the intent of talking, with the intent of learning from communities and actually partnering with them. That's how we feel the right way is. And that's why we call ourselves a social enterprise, because
Right.
we're not just fluff. We mean it, like, and we really value our partners and we really see them as partners and not just farmers or producers, right? Like, so that's how I feel. Of course, there are conflicts, there are, like miscommunication, but everything can be resolved when you have a open mind and open ears. So we listen, we take things head on and not shy away from any questions. Like, so that's how we deal with it.
Absolutely. And as you scale up, right, no doubt, you might look for at external investors, right?
Hmm.
And the question in my mind was, how do you think investors will put external investors will
Hmm.
really get it? The fact that you are, it's a social first, company.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Honestly, I feel there is a lot of merit in that. And investors, I think the way we see it, right? Like, if I start talking to an investor, like the way I see it is, you know, we fit into the natural sweetener category, which is like around $71.3 billion in the country, right? Or the dry fruit market, which is like 830 million, or the dates, like we import around 4 lakh tons of dates every year in India. So mahua is actually a replacement or a complementary to dates. Every naturally sweetened product that you get right now is sweetened with dates or jaggery. That's where Mahua comes in. So it's not just a D2C opportunity, it's a B2B opportunity. It's like there's endless opportunities with Mahua. And it all comes back to if Mahua is harvested and post harvested the right way. And having worked with communities, I think we're specialists in getting you the right Mahua flower, as in getting you graded, sorted, good quality mahua flowers. So yeah, I think there's a lot of credibility, and we put it simply, right? Like if mahua flowers are coming to your plate as food, then it's already creating impact. And that's what we want to do, because there's a lot of like there's a big industry already, unorganized industry of mahua flowers, right? Being sold for country liquor in
Correct.
So it's not that there's not an economy around mahua flowers, but it's just grossly undervalued and underrepresented. So yeah, I feel there's a lot of scope for mahua flowers in the
But
future.
that's the question I had, that this is a tree that's been growing for centuries, right? And we've similar to others like Makhana, like you mentioned. But it's only now in the last 1 or 2 years that Mahua's uses or applicability in things other than country liquor are
Yeah.
coming forward, right? So the question that I had is, why has it taken so long?
See, one is the colonial hangover that we live in. Even the state rules are very iffy about mahua, right? Like mahua is only treated as country liquor. In Jharkhand, you can't even produce it as country liquor. So there is so much stigma around it. And as 180 people responded out of the 230 people who said yes, that they've just heard about it as an intoxicant. Right. So there's that's the reason, and that's where I think there are people doing a lot of laddus and small SHGs doing it in
Yeah.
silos, but it's never come out of that sort of perception, and that's where I feel it's a big opportunity as well. That's because again it'll take time, right? Like you said, millets took time or makhana took time. It will take time, but in general, I believe the product is amazing, especially when it comes to nutrition and application of the product. So, yeah, it's going to take time, but I think like this is a great start, right? 200 people are knowing about this as we speak right now. So, with like people are talking about it slowly, and there are brands even doing liquor with mahua now. In some states, it's like categorized as IMFL, which is strangely Indian made foreign liquor.
Yes.
But it is like Fenny is also categorized under that in some
Yeah.
states. So Mahua is being done put into that category in some states. So there's talk about Mahua, and I think it's a beautiful story. And I think we live in the age of storytelling and people wanting to know various stories. Right. So there's yeah, I think it's only a matter of time where mahua will come into our food products.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, we've run out of time. I personally think we could have gone on for another hour. Uh, this is so interesting. So the first, I'm going to ask two more questions
Sure.
before we wrap up. One is from the audience. Do you have a Mahua Growers and Processors Association? Is the question.
So, firstly, again, like mahua, people don't really grow mahua, like you have to
Yes.
understand there are no mahua farms, like you have mango farms or strawberry farms or grape farms. Mahua, like, is a very unique subject. It's a NTFP or a non-timber forest produce. It grows in forests or fringe forest like villages, right? So, there's no mahua farmer, so to say. It's a seasonal crop for communities. So we're working. There are FPOs. There are like state corporations which deal with NTFP. So we're forming alliances with collectives and block level forest departments and stuff like that to make an association of people working with mahua who harvest mahua. So that's the goal of like accumulating and sort of organizing. Yeah, hope
And
that answered the
one
question.
last question, and we won't hold you to this, but when do you see this category truly exploding?
Well, I hope soon, but as I said, a mahua tree takes 10 years to bloom. So we're not in a rush. I think it will take another 3 to 5 years for it to really start popping up. We're doing our efforts to sort of spread that word around, do awareness, uh, participate in fairs like Biofark or, like food fairs, be it Anuga or, so there are many others like us who are also like there's Jai Jungle in Chhattisgarh, Bastar Foods in Chhattisgarh. Maharashtra has a government initiative called Shibari Naturals, where they're doing mahua syrup, mahua laddus, mahua jams. So there is small efforts being, started across the central Indian
Right.
landscape. So it will take some time, but I believe in 3 to 5 years, we will start seeing, mahua sweetened energy bars and granolas in the market instead of just dates.
I think all of us are probably collectively looking forward to that. Rishabh, thank you so much. This has been a very informative, session. I've, thoroughly enjoyed, chatting with you, and I'm sure, our audience of 200 plus has, enjoyed this as much as I have. On behalf of them, as well as the CII Western Region Startup Subcommittee, thank you ever so much for taking the time and joining us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, and thank you for the opportunity. And to everyone who's joined, it's really been great. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.